Okay, so many great people here. So this is an honor to start speaking during this Congress. My name is Maciej Eder, and I'm the chair or the president of the scientific committee of the 27th International Congress of Onomastic Sciences, also known as ICOS 2021. Used to be 2020, but we all know the reason why it was replaced with 2021. But I'm also the director of the Institute of Polish Language at the Polish Academy of Sciences, which is the main organizer of the ICOS Congress. And hereby, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the colleagues from the Onomastic Department for the organization of that Congress. It has started many years ago, and they've been involved very deeply and intensely to all the organizational details. So, because of their hard work, we are all here right now. So thank you very much. And there will be more opportunities to say my thank yous at the closing ceremony, but I thought that it would be also just to say it right now. Not only the Institute of the Polish Language at the Polish Academy of Sciences is the organizer of this Congress, but also the Jagiellonian University, which, as you might know, is the oldest Polish university and also one of the oldest universities in the world, established in 1364. So this is also a co-organizing institution. And so about the Committee of Linguistics at the Polish Academy of Sciences, another institution that has been involved in the organization of this Congress. Not only those Polish institutions, but also the Faculty of Philosophy of Maciej Bell University in Bańska Bystrica has been involved in the organization, and the same about Sztur Institute of Linguistics at the Slovak Academy of Sciences in Bratislava, but also at the University of Trnava, the Faculty of Education. The patronage of the Congress was taken by the mayor of the city of Kraków, Professor Jacek Majchrowski, and His Magnificence, rector of the Jagiellonian University, Professor Dr. Jacek Popiel. You will have an opportunity to hear to them in a couple of minutes. They will have their speeches in due time. Well, this is a big honor to host the Congress in Kraków. It was meant to take place 1 year ago in 2020, and we all know what happened, right? The call for papers was launched, the program committee was appointed, everything was working like a perfectly set clock, and then, of course, it happened. And because of that, we had to postpone the Congress, and then finally we meet. Alas, we meet virtually only. I would love to meet you all in Kraków and to take you for a beer in the evening, something like that. This is also the dimension I'll be missing during that Congress very much. However, even if this in this sort of not full form, we meet here, and I'm really glad to see all of you, and I'm really looking forward to the magnificent papers to be delivered during the Congress. I'm not an onomastic scholar myself, to be very honest, but my field of interest is quite close to onomastics, to pure onomastics. My field is quantitative linguistics, corpus linguistics, and this kind of things. And the names, the proper nouns have always been close to my fields of interest. If I think of, for example, translation studies and some quantitative approaches to translation studies, it has always been very fascinating to me to see how the two language versions in two different languages, how they coordinate, and those pins then pinpoint those two versions of the same language. This is the names, this is the proper nouns. That's quite fascinating, right? Similarly fascinating for me, at least, is the fact that in distributional semantics methods and models, something I've been deeply involved in, proper nouns behave very interestingly. I mean, they tend to cluster in a very specific area of this multidimensional models, which is super nice. But this is not to say about my field of interest. This is to say about your fields of interest, because I've seen the program of the Congress, which is really impressive. And a good Congress is, of course, about the good and the rich program. And that's what we experience here with over 200 papers, with over 300 participants. So that's going to be a big event. And not only the REACH program, but also the book of abstracts, which is available online. Please download it and at your spare time. It's already there waiting for you. Congress is a rich program, of course, but a good Congress is, of course, a series of satellite events as well, including the social dimension, which will be missing so much. But even without the socializing evenings, there is a concert to be played virtually, yet still there will be a concert. I Am Hamur's piano recital on Tuesday. I cordially invite you to be a part of it, to follow the recording on YouTube. And the third thing that makes a big Congress, that makes a Congress a good Congress, is a hosting venue. And this time, this is Kraków. And as I said, I'm totally glad to host you in Kraków, even individually. It's, by the way, Kraków is an interesting proper noun itself. That's a homework for you to trace it down where it comes from. It's not a Polish name for sure. Its etymology is sort of blurry, but this is something for you as a homework because you're not here inside. So Kraków is a place I cordially invite you to visit one day. That's a place full of historical sites and known for it's very touristy, it's very vibrant, something you would love. Even if today the weather is not very welcoming, but that's because the weather is crying because of missing you, right? That's the planctus naturae, so the cry of the nature because of you not being here. With this all said, I think we can I can pass to my other honorable colleagues, and let's start with the mayor of the city of Kraków, Professor Jacek Majchrowski, who will be delivering his welcoming address as a video to be played.
Niezmiernie miło mi Państwa powitać wszystkich znamienitych uczestników, a także gości 27. Międzynarodowego Kongresu Onomastycznego. Kongres został zorganizowany przez ośrodki naukowe z Polski, Czech i Słowacji. Bardzo dziękuję wszystkim krakowskim organizatorom tego wydarzenia, szczególnie Polskiej Akademii Nauk oraz Uniwersytetowi Jagiellońskiemu za zaproszenie na jego uroczystą inaugurację. Szkoda, że z powodu pandemii nie możemy spotkać się bezpośrednio, tak jak to było zaplanowane. Tym niemniej cieszę się, że przynajmniej tą drogą mogę podziękować Państwu za udział w tym niezwykle ważnym dla naszego miasta przedsięwzięciu. Cieszę się, że zdecydowali się Państwo przenieść swoją debatę do internetu, dzięki czemu możemy być w Krakowie świadkami wydarzenia najwyższej naukowej rangi. Wielki poeta Cyprian Kaminowicz, którego 200-lecie urodzin będziemy świętować już za miesiąc, we wrześniu, streścił ideę przyświecającą swojej twórczości w zdaniu, które stało się ulubionym sloganem polonistów: odpowiednie dać rzeczy słowo. Dziś doskonale wiemy, że imperatyw precyzji językowej jest zarezerwowany dla nauk humanistycznych, lecz ma bardziej szerokie także zastosowanie. Pomimo to interdyscyplinarny charakter onomastyki, nauki badającej słowo pisane wielką literą, wciąż nie dla wszystkich jest oczywisty. Środowisko naukowe w krajach zachodniej słowiańszczyzny, w Polsce, Czechach i Słowacji od lat podejmują wysiłki na rzecz zmiany tego stanu rzeczy. Odbywający się pomimo kryzysu pandemii kongres onomastyczny jest tego najlepszym dowodem. Cieszę się, że to odbywające się przy dużym zaangażowaniu krakowskiego środowiska naukowego wydarzenie po raz kolejny będzie okazją do zaprezentowania badań i osiągnięć zachodniosłowiańskiej onomastyki, jak również innych istotnych związków tej nauki z takimi dyscyplinami jak filozofia, socjologia, psychologia psychiatria, komunikacja, historia, polityka, geografia czy archeologia. Mam nadzieję, że kongres sprawi Państwu prawdziwą przyjemność, stając się miejscem ożywionej i inspirującej dyskusji naukowej debaty. Dziękuję wszystkim Państwu za zaangażowanie i życzę owocnych obrad.
Thank you very much, Professor Majchrowski. As said, the mayor of the city of Kraków has offered his patronage over the Congress, to which we are very, very grateful. And the next, and the same is true about Professor Jacek Popiel, Rector Magnificus of the Jagiellonian University, who's the next to take floor. Also, a video will be played.
Dzień dobry Państwu. Witam z auli Collegium Novum, najważniejszego miejsca w uniwersytecie, miejsca, w którym odbywają się najistotniejsze uroczystości. W tym miejscu za parę tygodni rozpoczniemy 658 rok w dziejach naszego uniwersytetu. Szanowni Państwo, witam wszystkich uczestników 27. Międzynarodowego Kongresu Onomastycznego, biorących udział w tym kongresie za pośrednictwem łączy elektronicznych. Witam w imieniu 3 organizatorów ośrodków naukowych z Czech, Polski i Słowacji. W dniu otwarcia kongresu warto przypomnieć, że pierwszy międzynarodowy zjazd uczonych zajmujących się badaniem zjawisk wchodzących w zakres onomastyki odbył się w 1938 roku w Paryżu. Istnienie Międzynarodowego Stowarzyszenia sformalizowano jednak dopiero w 1949 roku podczas kongresu w Brukseli. Ustanowiony został wówczas Międzynarodowy Komitet Onomastyczny. W tym samym czasie opracowano także jego statut, w którym zapisano, że kongresy odbywać się będą co 3 lata. Od tego czasu międzynarodowe kongresy zaczęto traktować jako wydarzenia, dzięki którym możliwe jest stałe, systematyczne rozwijanie, upowszechnianie i koordynowanie badań onomastycznych na poziomie ponadnarodowym. Globalny charakter przedsięwzięcia nie oznaczał jednak nigdy, że nie uwzględniano w nim również badań lokalnych czy nawet regionalnych. W kongresach w kolejnych latach regularnie biorą udział badacze z prawie całej Europy oraz m.in. z Kanady, Stanów Zjednoczonych, Meksyku, Brazylii, Republiki Południowej Afryki, Zambii, Gany, Kuwejtu, Korei Południowej, Japonii czy Singapuru. Nie sposób nie dostrzec, że tegoroczny Międzynarodowy Kongres Onomastyczny ma wyjątkowy charakter. Podejmuje bowiem w sposób otwarty temat interdyscyplinarności badań onomastycznych. W poprzednich kongresach udział brali w nim oprócz językoznawców i filologów również historycy, socjologowie, filozofowie, psychologowie, a także praktycy i specjaliści z różnych zakresów dziedzin. Trzeba podkreślić, że usytuowanie onomastyki na tle i w szerokim kontekście innych dyscyplin wiedzy nigdy bodaj nie było tak widoczne jak w chwili obecnej. Podnosząc onomastykę do rangi interdyscyplinarnego problemu badawczego, organizatorzy obecnego 27. Kongresu stworzyli zatem warunki sprzyjające ujmowaniu onomastyki we wszystkich jej postaciach i zastosowaniach. Jest bowiem więcej niż oczywiste, że już od dawna nie mieści się onomastyka w granicach wąsko i ortodoksyjnie rozumianej lingwistyki. Interdyscyplinarny status onomastyki musi się jawić jako bezdyskusyjny, zwłaszcza tym, którzy w ramach swych zatrudnień zajmują się na przykład zjawiskami podejmowanymi na gruncie antropo- i socjoonomastyki, polityki nazewniczej czy onomastyki kognitywnej. Zdają sobie oni również z pewnością sprawę, że onomastyki nie da się dziś traktować jako nauki czysto teoretycznej, albowiem posiada ona również aspekt ściśle praktyczny. Licznych i przekonujących dowodów dostarczają nam w tym względzie choćby medycyna czy nauki prawne. Jako rektor Uniwersytetu Jagiellońskiego nie mogę nie wspomnieć o tym, że Międzynarodowy Kongres Onomastyczny już po raz drugi gości w Krakowie. Wydarzenie to po raz pierwszy odbyło się w Podwawelskim Grodzie w 1978 roku. Jego tematem stały się wówczas nazwy własne i nazwy pospolite. Ono samo dowiodło to wydarzenie, jak pisał Kazimierz Rymut, jeden z najbardziej utytułowanych polskich onomastów, że onomastyka to dyscyplina ważna, prężnie się rozwijająca i otwierająca przed uczonymi rozległe, obiecujące perspektywy badawcze. Program obecnego 27. Kongresu podzielono na 3 główne części. Wystąpienia plenarne, wystąpienia w sekcjach oraz specjalne nawet sympozja poświęcone prezentacji badań onomastycznych w krajach zachodniej Słowiańszczyzny, w Czechach, w Polsce i na Słowacji. Badania onomastyczne w tych krajach mają bardzo długą tradycję, stały się nawet wzorem dla rozwoju onomastyki w innych krajach. Pragniemy podczas sympozjów przybliżyć osiągnięcia onomastyki słowiańskiej szerszemu gronu słuchaczy. Szanowni Państwo, nie ulega wątpliwości, że bieżąca 27. odsłona Międzynarodowego Kongresu Onomastycznego ma wymiar szczególny z jeszcze jednego powodu. Pierwotnie ten kongres miał się odbyć w poprzednim roku. Został jednak odroczony z powodu pandemii koronawirusa. W obliczu nadal obowiązującego zagrożenia zdecydowano się, i to po raz pierwszy w historii kongresów, zorganizować sesję w formie zdalnej. Wierzę, że pomimo pewnych ograniczeń wpisanych w naturę spotkań odbywających się na odległość, wydarzenia, w których na przestrzeni kolejnych dni będziecie Państwo brać udział, staną się dla Państwa niewyczerpanym źródłem inspiracji. Szanowni Państwo, w imieniu organizatorów chciałem złożyć wszystkim serdeczne pozdrowienia i życzenia znakomitych obrad, emocjonalnych dyskusji i wyrazić nadzieję, że następny, kolejny kongres odbędzie się już w formie bezpośredniej. Życzę wszystkim miłych rozmów, miłych spotkań i efektów w postaci znakomitego tomu, który będzie efektem tego 27. kongresu. Wszystkiego dobrego.
Thank you, Professor Popiel, very, very much. We are really glad to have such great patrons as Professor Majchrowski and Professor Popiel. Now we restrict ourselves to the people here in this room, which I'm also very glad to mention. And the next speaker is Professor Milan Harvalík, representative of the organizers from the Czech Republic and the Vice President of the Scientific Committee of the Congress. Professor Harvalík, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear members of the organizing committee, members of the scientific committee, fellow onomasticians, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the co-organizers from Czechia and on behalf of Czech onomasticians, I welcome you all to the 27th International Congress of Onomastic Sciences, which is being held online in Kraków. It gives me great pleasure to be able to welcome such a large gathering of scholars. Similar exceptional occasions, which the International Congress of Onomastic Sciences undoubtedly is, cause me to reflect on our field, onomastics, on the International Council of Onomastic Sciences, on their development and future direction. The history of the International Council of Onomastic Sciences and the history of international congresses of onomastic sciences are closely connected. And as you have surely noticed, both the Council and the Congresses use the same abbreviation, ICOS. Unlike the earlier situation, the International Council of Onomastic Sciences opened up its membership policy since the beginning of the current century, and all persons with an interest in onomastic research are now free to become members of ICOS. Over the decades, people who have been active in ICOS have managed both to maintain the ideals of its founders and to keep up with current questions that social and human sciences are facing. ICOS still constitutes the only international organization for name studies and allows for scholarly exchange by promoting the Congress, by publishing scientific papers in Onoma, and by circulating regular newsletters. Since the origin of ICOS, the study of names has opened up to a plethora of research questions and methods that coexist with the historical and etymological procedures that made onomastic renowned. Name studies continue to captivate new generations of researchers in the human and social sciences, which is natural. In addition to the linguistic factors, extralinguistic, primarily social factors have also always contributed significantly to the origination and development of individual proper names and of entire onymic systems of all languages. This is easily understandable. In fact, proper names constitute not only a language phenomenon, but also a broader social phenomenon, and they therefore also reflect the evolution of society and its changes. The complex of the proper names that exist and are used in any language has undergone significant changes, especially during recent years. Though in the course of a detailed examination, it becomes evident that their intensity and dynamism are manifested unevenly in terms of specific groups and subgroups of proper names. It has become evident that the onymic systems are able to respond to changes in society, often more swiftly than an appellative components of language, and to the communication needs for the new proper names. The dynamic development of onomastics in the past years can be observed on the pages of books, proceedings, festschrifts, and journals, and in papers read at congresses, conferences, symposia, and seminars. Along with collecting material, processing dictionaries of particular groups of proper names, studies on various questions of onomastic research, the popularization of onomastics and its teaching, great emphasis is also placed on work of a theoretical and methodological character. Such a comprehensiveness and scope of research are natural and necessary. Any investigation requires a thorough analysis of the data gained, proficiency in theory and methodology, and a good knowledge of the findings in the field of the subject studies, not only in one's own country, but also abroad. In my opinion, each onomastician should bear in mind that the analysis of any onymic system is not an end in itself, but a means bringing us to the higher levels of onomastics, methodology, and general theory. The initiator of the Congress in Kraków was Professor Barbara Czopek-Kopczuk, whose memory will be commemorated later during the opening of the Congress. Barbara's idea was to organize the Congress in cooperation between Polish, Czech, and Slovak onomasticians, and to include in its program special symposia devoted to presentation of onomastic research in the West Slavic countries, Poland, Czechia, and Slovakia. Onomastic research has a very long tradition in these countries and has become a model for the development of onomastics in many other countries. The aim of these mentioned symposia is to present the achievements of the Slavic onomastics to a large auditorium. Therefore, in this context, I would like to remind the words of my mentor and friend, a prominent, unfortunately late, Czech onomastician, Professor Ivan Lutarer. I have quoted this idea more than once, including in my speech at the opening of the last ICOS Congress in Debrecen, so maybe some of you will remember these words, but I believe that it is good to repeat wise and true words all the time. So the quotation is, if quality of onomastic study is to be guaranteed, it is necessary to organically join traditional and non-traditional methods if they prove useful and if they are applied in the appropriate proportion. End of quotation. I'm happy to say that today, onomastics is no longer perceived to be an auxiliary science or only a side discipline in other fields, but is seen as a relatively independent discipline of linguistics, the characteristic features of which include primarily the tendencies to synthesizing and theoretical studies in the spirit of contemporary linguistics, and also other human and social sciences. I believe that this Congress and the papers presented at it will contribute to the further development in the field of onomastics, and I should like to wish this Congress success in the days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Harvalík. And the next speaker is Professor Gabriela Múcsková, the director of the Stur Institute of Linguistics at the Slovak Academy of Sciences. Professor Múcsková, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear Mr. President, the organizers and participants of the 27th International Congress of Onomastic Sciences, dear colleagues, I'm very glad that I can greet this scientific meeting on behalf of the Ľudovít Štúr Institute of Linguistics, Slovak Academy of Sciences in Bratislava, a research institution that has a long tradition in the research of proper names, in building of rich onomastic archives, and in development of the theoretical and methodological conceptions. The roots of Slovak onomastics are connected with historical linguistics and historical comparative analysis of geographical names. This research of historical and also current toponyms was part of the search for the roots of our language or linguistic changes. From many works, I can mention here at least an important monograph of Jan Stanislav, Slovak South in the Middle Ages, and also works of Rudolf Krajčovič, Living Chronicles of Slovak History, hidden in the names of municipalities and cities, and set of his articles from the Lexicon of Medieval Slovak. He revealed here our history preserved in today's names of villages and towns. The onomastic research in the Ľudovít Štúr Institute of Linguistics is associated mainly with the names of Vincent Blanár and his work Theory of the Proper Name, and with the name of Milan Majtan. Both of them we can consider as the founders and organizers of modern onomastic research in Slovakia, and important representatives of the so-called Slovak onomastic school, at home, but also abroad. They were prominent members of the International Commission for Slavic Onomastics at the International Committee of Slavists, and also other international scientific organizations. The theory of proper name of Vincent Blanár is based on the function and semantic side of proper name, specific features of propria, relations between the linguistic and onymic status of proper name, and he also dealt with the functioning of names in communication. Last year, 2020, was a year of the 100th anniversary of his birth. On this occasion, our institute prepared a special issue of the Journal of Linguistics, our jazykovedný časopis, with articles focused on various aspects of onomastic research. Milan Majtan devoted to the onomastic several works. Perhaps the most famous is his work Names of Municipalities of the Slovak Republic, in which he described the extremely variable development of the Slovak toponyms during the previous 2 centuries. In addition, he realized and organized research of anacronyms. I can mention his work from the Lexicon of Slovak Toponymy, and the research of hydronyms. His popularization works, Name of Your Child or Our Surnames, are still very popular in the public. Current onomastic research in our institute is realized by the team of Dr. Iveta Valentová, and among others, it focuses on building a database of anacronyms and a research on onomastic terminology. The institute also provides us or supports activities of the Slovak Onomastic Commission, which interconnects our academic research with research of experts from several Slovak universities, especially the Faculty of Education in Trnava University, the Faculty of Philosophy of Maciej University in Banská Bystrica, and the Faculty of Philosophy of University of Prešov. The Commission organizes regular onomastic conferences, seminars, and discussions. Ordinary people, but often not only for them, the topic of proper names is mainly associated with the question, where should the capital letters be written correctly, or how to spell or decline proper names correctly. This, of course, is not irrelevant, as it is evidenced in thousands and thousands of questions in our language counseling center, and also during the cooperation with various state commissions. But at the same time, we know that the scientific scope of onomastics is many times larger and affects almost all linguistic disciplines and fields. It is due to the nature of its research object, the proper names. They are diachronic laboratories of our social and language development, mirror of our culture and landscape, and a reflection of our cognitive grasp of uniqueness. Therefore, we are honored that we were, together with the University of Trnava and Maciej University in Banská Bystrica, invited as co-organizers of this important onomastic congress. However, our role is only partial. So I would like to thank the main organizers, colleagues from the Polish Academy of Sciences and Jagiellonian University in Kraków, for perfect preparation of this congress. And I want to thank all of you for accepting the invitation and contributing to the remarkably rich program. When we talked about the upcoming Congress in 2019, I remember that the organizers' plan also included an excursion to interesting places also in Slovakia. Interesting in terms of our history, culture, architecture. Of course, in the context of this conference, also interesting in terms of their names. I'm very sorry that the circumstances didn't allow us to implement this plan, but I hope that we will have the opportunity to meet sometimes in person in Slovakia with onomastics. I wish you a successful, stimulating, and pleasant meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Múcsková. And we move on to our next speaker, which is Professor Paula Sjöblom from the University of Turku, Finland, the president of the International Council of Onomastic Sciences. Professor Sjöblom, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Professor Eder, Professor Múcsková, Professor Harvalík, members of the scientific committee, dear colleagues in onomastics, ladies and gentlemen, meine Damen und Herren, Mesdames et Messieurs, Dami i Gospoda. Who would have known in Debrecen in 2017 in what kind of circumstances the next Congress will be held? The plan was that we onomasticians would have got together face-to-face in Kraków for the 27th International Congress of Onomastic Sciences in 2020. However, sometimes things do not go as planned. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic first forced us to postpone the conference by 1 year. And while the situation was and still is very unstable in the world, the ICOS board and the Congress organizers had to make a very hard decision to arrange the Congress only virtually. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the organizing team of the Congress for all the work that you have done and for your endurance in this difficult situation. Furthermore, during the period between the two Congresses, the organizing team in Kraków and the entire onomastic community met with sad news. Professor Barbara Czapek-Kopciuk, who was the main coordinator of the Kraków Congress, passed away in July 2020. We, the ICOS board, want to express our sympathy to her nearest colleagues. I would ask you now to join a silent moment and pay respect to the memory of Barbara. Thank you. And thank you, Professor Eder and Professor Bijak, for taking charge of the Congress preparations after Professor Čopek. The papers presented at the previous International Congress of Onomastic Sciences in Debrecen in 2017 came out in the turn of 2019 as issues of the journal Onomastica Uralica, both online in open access format and in print. Congratulations and many thanks to Professor Valeria Toth and her team for the prompt publication. This was probably a new record in the time between the Congress and the publication. Ladies and gentlemen, these congresses, of which we are now in the 27th, are one of the main activities of the International Council of Onomastic Sciences. The aim of the Council is the advancement, representation, and coordination of proper name research on an international level and in an interdisciplinary context. Every scholar who is actively engaged in a scholarly named research may become a member of ICOS. And if you allow me a short advertisement, if you are not yet a member but are interested to be one, you are very welcome to contact either the secretary or the treasurer of ICOS during these conference days or later. And if you are a member, don't forget the General Assembly of ICOS, which will be carried out on a Wednesday in Zoom. The secretary has sent a link to the meeting to all ICOS members. During this week, we are privileged to hear many interesting presentations and learn a lot about the new onomastic research from all around the world. Thanks to you all. We have an excellent opportunity to discuss about our viewpoints, experiences, and visions of onomastic theories, of the study of toponyms, anthroponyms, and other name groups, of the broad methodologies of onomastics, etc. And to continue developing onomastics as a discipline, which also has many shared interests with other disciplines. Many thanks to the Polish Academy of Sciences and to the Jagiellonian University in Poland, to the Maciej University, to Slovak Academy of Sciences and to University in Trnava in Slovakia, and to the Institute of the Czech Language of the Czech Academy of Sciences in Prague in the Czech Republic, who have made this Congress possible. We want to thank the city of Kraków as well. Now we can visit all your beautiful places only in our imagination, but if and when the world gets back to normal, you can be sure that many of us will come and enjoy your history, architecture, and gastronomy. I wish us all a very fruitful and exciting Congress. Ich wünsche Ihnen eine inspirierende Kongress. Un bon congrès à vous. Dobry Kongress.
Thank you very much, Professor Sjöblom, for this great talk. And I'm particularly grateful for your mentioning Professor Barbara Čopek-Kopčuch. For a reason, because she has been a person behind the fact that she was the person to bring the Congress to Kraków. She was the one that believed it would be possible, and she was the main proponent of Kraków as the venue for the next ICOS Congress, which actually happened, as we can experience right now. Not only that, she was for a couple of years, for 4 years exactly, she was a vice director of the Institute of the Polish language at the Academy of Sciences. So she was also very much involved in a day-to-day work at the Institute. So I'm very grateful that you mentioned her. And the next point in our agenda today is to say a couple of words about Professor Barbara Čopek-Kopčuch. And I ask, hereby I ask Professor Urszula Bijak to take the floor and to say a few words about Professor Čopek-Kopčuch.
When we were planning and preparing the 27th ICOS Congress, the world looked different. Of course, everything has changed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but also our little onomastic world in Kraków has changed. More than a year ago, on July 7th, 2020, our dear colleague, Professor Barbara Kopciuch, passed away. She was an outstanding researcher of proper names, the author of classic works on onomastics, and unquestionable authority for Polish onomasticians. And she was the initiator and main coordinator of the 27th ICOS Congress in Kraków till her death. Barbara Czopek was born to a family of teachers in 1952 in Częstochowa. She attended primary and secondary school in her hometown and later came to Kraków to study, where she remained for the rest of her life. She graduated in philology, in Polish philology at the Jagiellonian University. Throughout her professional life, over 40 years, she worked at the Institute of Polish Language, Polish Academy of Sciences in Kraków, obtaining successive scientific titles and holding various positions. Barbara Czopek-Kopciuch academic interests and achievements were focused on onomastics. Under the supervision of Professor Kazimierz Rymut, she wrote her PhD thesis on toponomastics and defended it in 1985. 3 years later, she published her first book, Place Names of the Former Chełm and Bełż Lands within the borders of today's Polish state, which is a modified version of her PhD dissertation. In 1995, she received her postdoctoral qualification based on the monograph Adaptations of German Place Names in Polish. In that book, she analyzed more than 1,000 place names of German origin from areas of Poland where Polish settlement preceded German settlement, using Weinreich's theory of linguistic interference, Eichler's onymic integration theory, and Burnowicz's theory of linguistic substitution and interference. The book received numerous positive reviews and is among the most cited works on the topic. Another important publication in Barbara Czopek-Kopciuch's output is Polish surnames in the Ruhr district, the result of participation in a Polish-German project to compile a dictionary of surnames of Polish origin in the Ruhr region. A 2-volume dictionary, Lexikon den Familiennamen polnischer Herkunft im Ruhrgebiet, was published a few years later as a collective work, and Barbara Czopek-Kopciuch compiled over 13,000 dictionary entries for it. In her own monograph, she reused the theory of linguistic interference and onymic integration, modified for personal names, and she also included interesting sociolinguistic remarks concerning the ethnic identity of bearers of Polish surnames. In recognition of all her scientific, organizational, and didactic achievements, Barbara Czopek-Kopciuch received the title of full professor in 2008. Professor Czopek-Kopciuch's scientific output not only includes monographs, but also collective lexicographical works. Apart from the above-mentioned Dictionary of Surnames published in German, she co-authored, and from volume 8, and also edited a dictionary Polish place names, history, origin, changes. She has also participated as a manager and collaborator in grants that have resulted in electronic edition of onomasticons, like Electronic Dictionary of Hydronyms in Poland, and the most common Polish surnames, present day and history. She published numerous articles, over 16 Polish, German, and English. Her treatises and essays were based on rich onomastic material subjected to a detailed analysis. These were mostly concerned with toponomastic issues, but also with anthroponomastic ones. She published extensively on Polish Eastern Slavic language contacts, as well as Polish-German ones. on standardization of geographical names, onomastic terminology. Her last article, Multiculturalism in Polish Toponymy, was printed this year. The full bibliography will be included in the 65th volume of Onomastica, which will be published in December. This issue is dedicated to Barbara. Professor Barbara Czopek-Kopciuk was a polyglot, fluent in English, German, and Russian. She completed academic internships and scholarships abroad in Kiev and Lviv, and in Germany, Göttingen, Dortmund, Berlin, Mainz. A significant proportion of her publications include reviews, discussions, and reports, in which she introduced foreign language onomastic monographs to Polish readers and shared her impressions from congresses and foreign conferences. She regularly attended ICOS congresses. I remember her story about the congress in Santiago de Compostela, in Barcelona, in Pisa, in Toronto. In addition to the strictly scientific activities, Professor Barbara Czopek-Kopciuk was known for her organizational skills. She served as Deputy Director of the Institute of Polish Language, head of the Department of Onomastics, Editor-in-Chief of Onomastica, and chaired the Commission on Place Names and Physiographic Objects. She was a respected researcher of proper names at home and abroad, member of scientific boards of several journals. In the years 2008, 2011, she was the member of the board of directors of the International Council of Onomastic Sciences. Professor Barbara Czopek-Kopciuk was a leader in the field of Polish onomastics, a very hardworking person who was always very kind to others. Until the last moments, she wrote reviews, supervised the preparation of Onomastica, and edited the upcoming volume of Polish place names. She will remain in our Kraków Onomastic Department staff memory forever. We will use her works, memorable advice, and tips for both academic work and life for a long time to come. I do believe that Barbara is smiling down on us from a different world and has given us her blessing for this Congress today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do hope this is the case, that she is one of our patrons of this Congress as well. Thank you very much. And this speech exhausted our today's agenda. So the second to last thing is to, well, it's my honor. I'm not sure if I'm the best person to say it, but this is an honor to claim this conference officially open right now. So feel free to join the sessions, parallel sessions. Feel free to take part in the discussions and have fun during those days. Before we go for a break, however, there is the very last part of this of the agenda for today, for today's first session, and this is a short film about Kraków, which is a virtual venue, if not real, then at least virtual. So please enjoy those like 4 minute long films about Kraków, and then we go for a break and we and we'll be back here in like 35 minutes time at 11:30 Central European time. So enjoy the video about Kraków. Okay, well, I'm not sure if for us academics, the Sheraton Hotel would be the place where we would stay. But apart from that, those films do not contain too much coloring. So that's how Kraków looks like. So thank you very much for coming today. And I personally think that this first session was quite successful, and with the hope that the next will be even more successful. There's 30 minutes break in front of us, and we reconvene in 30 minutes. Thank you very much.